I think, police did way too much, especially in Anchorage Police Department. And yeah, it just they way too much. I'm hoping, it's the things that what is going on. It's the things that they played as being police, as being government system. Okay, police system, FBI system, and also government member while they sit and work in government position. Okay. 2008, yes, it was my kid's father who handed out my information to the Mexican-American police line through, Mexican-American police line street people. He opened it and investigated. He did not issue a green card, and my ex left. And then due to the word they were spreading, thinking that if my ex did it, how bad I am. But it's a personal opinion. It's their personal opinion. And the reason that, I am also telling this story to the world is the U.S. police organization, especially Mexican. And they need to stop exercising their government power to do their personal thing. They were destroying people's life and knowing that they are personal. Well, right now they were doing the minority, but eventually once their power get big, I'm sure that they will get the majority too. Okay, just like they crossed the public school, University of Toledo, LASSEN College, and then UCSB. And then they also let, once my information has been handed out, my brother got fired. And also in 2008, and also while I was in SUSANVILLE, Mr. Kim's daughter got fired once he started to receive the SNAP. So it was all done by, as far as I perceive, it was all done by the Mexican-American Police Organization. And also, while Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean handed out my son's, information, they continually had 6 years, okay? Once UCSB de-enforced him to be out of UCSB. Then Chinese Korea, Mr. Chang continually had my son's, wherever he was applying, okay, in California. And then Chinese Korean handed out that information to the Mexican police line. Then Mexican police, crossed the public school fear that led their people not to probably throw away my son's application or not to be accepted, or they Mexican has a network, just like how they play while they suspend my Walmart job in EDD. They were taking care, they were lying and omitting all these official documents by their own. Okay, in California, that due to the corruption, that's a lot. So my son was, even though he was applying to certain school, he was not being accepted. Okay, due to the Mexican-American police line and their Mexican-American government people line, and doing what they were doing through their network, like manipulating, they were making up while they sit in the government position. And then I also find out last 9 years, in Los Angeles, I see numerous Chinese Korean has been moved into the USA, and then also the Anchorage. I mean, through what connection, and they have been moved. And then it seems like a Chinese Korean is totally networked in USA along with Mexican American side by side, and then continually creating a crime technology, and in order to do something or flip the USA, that I don't know. So yeah. So now, while Chinese Korean and Mexican American, Chinese Korean in South Korea, And even North Korea, they plan on migrating USA due to the power of Chinese Korean is building up, while Chinese Korean and North Korean is also playing together in USA society. Yeah, that's what's going on. While at the same time, while Chinese Korean, North Korean are working together with the Mexican American, but eventually, I don't know what will be happen in the future. Yeah, so last 7 to 9 years, they have been migrate to USA and build up all this system in order to snatch US people's money, not just like how they were doing it in South Korea, along with the Mexican, okay, while they work together. And then, minority like Russian and Mohammed, they were getting chance to earn money while they playing together. Yeah, this is what was going on. In Susanville town by itself is very small. There is no Korean to snatch the money. Okay, there is, yeah. So this system was not building up. This system was not built up in Susanville. But they hacked Mr. Kim, status. They let Mr. Kim to be snatched, his motel to be snatched through the while Mexican American exercise their government power to seize, and they let Indian to take over. Yeah, Indian took take over, and also my house, who was going after, was also Indian, because while Indian American, Chinese Korean in Anchorage working together very closely. Also the Mohammed, which is owners of Hells Angel, that were also working with the Chinese Korean. So my case was in hidden or be taken care. They were the one who was taking care. My case in Anchorage was Chinese Korea, and while they're hiding, they let India to be front person, and also Mohammed to be the front person. This is what was going on. Current that is what is going on. Okay. So Indian was going after my house, while Chinese Korean was behind Indian. Mohammed's going after my house, while Chinese Korean was behind, behind in Anchorage. So, they made a network in order to snatch people's money toward Korea. And that crime, incident was allowed by the Mexican American and white police, system, because Chinese Korean is taking care of my case for them to get away. Yeah, this is what was going on. Yeah, and why they have to be, why all these event and incident and what I'm going through, they all occur is based on University of Toledo. Once, because they crossed the line to play way too much, and they know, as being police, the Mexican and white in California, who took care of my University of Toledo, know what they were trying to do to my life, which they shouldn't. As being police, they play like a abstain. Once I did not issue a green card, then they should stop. But they let University of Toledo officer, probably they lied that I issue a green card, okay, but they couldn't do anything. So they lied, I believe. And they let University of Toledo, police officer in University and Toledo to care and let doctor to feed medication to ruin my life. Just like how all these, they abstain play. And who play is so, yeah. I was pulled out from the physics room, put me in the mental hospital, and feed the mental medication. And that was a torture, about a month. And I planned on breaking the window and ran, and then doctor released me. And then I came back from the Toledo to CA, and then there is a numerous rumor behind it because I threatened my kid's father. I think that's what the Mexican American police, organization and Mexican community was spreading the lie in Southern California. And because I threatened, so that's how I ended up failing my University of Toledo, even though I never threatened anyone, and I don't know. And I honestly do not have no idea what the heck was going on. Police just wrap it up and ruined my life. Not only just ruined my career, they by using doctor, they attempt to cure me or ruin my life to become disability. That's what to make the disability. I think this is how the California, and I don't know, maybe the other state of California, in other state in USA, that is how U.S. police were playing toward the citizen. They were making citizen disability people, and then let those disability people to do the crime, like selling the drugs, selling the marijuana, while they work with the police. I think that's what they were doing. So what they were trying to do is make me a disability people so that I don't work in society. Okay, that's not what the police should do. Now, going through like 18 years, that's what they were doing as being police. That's not what I don't know. I don't know about the Southern America, but that was not the case of where I came from. Okay, because they don't ruin citizen. I don't think Russia, because it's a one nation, but here is a diversity and different races. So they were targeting each other, whoever they are different. So letting the difference to become, they were ruining the other people who are different from they are. Just like my, Susanville roommate said, if you're Mexican, you don't go through what I go through. Yes, if I'm white, I guess I would not go through what I'm going through by the white. So the difference was let them cross the line and ruining one's life, even though they did not do it wrong. It shouldn't be. So, I think mostly you already know and everything my story. And once I came back, so on my side, by ruining my life, and they tried to make me a disabled person, not to work in society. Once I returned in 2017, Glendora Police Department created another misconduct. White police officer, handcuffed me and put me in the mental hospital and lie 100%. Okay, so they knew what their white side has been done, because behind it, Mexican American police member was telling what they haven't done, what they haven't played together. But who truly did was white toward the University of Toledo, and then what University of Toledo has been done. So that's why, listening what was going on, and Glendora police officer did it, thinking that I issued a green card, but I didn't. So Mexican American side, and they were hiding that I did not issue a green card. That major point, they were hiding it behind it. Yeah, and then they did Mexican and white in California. The police officer create the 2017 Glendora Police Department, misconduct. Then they create, and in white side they want me to go back. I think that's the issue. I think they want me to go back to South Korea and then leave. But I don't know. That's maybe, I don't know. Because through the 2017 Glendora police misconduct, I find that who did University of 2008 to the University of Toledo was a police. That I find out. And then, 2018, when I went to LASSEN College, they screwed again by the police. But who worked, through their network was a Mexican American, along with the Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean, while they worked together. and they ruined my LASSEN college. And then they thought that, while they continue to ruin, I might leave USA, because at this 2018 August, at that point, police did not know that who, I don't know who did my University of Toledo. So by putting white, and they think that, oh, white police did, and and white LASSEN college did, okay? But through the 2017 September, GLENDORA police, misconduct, and then people saying that it's a police, Mr. Chang got the police, your ex did it. So I happened to find out all this, connection, how my University of Toledo event had been happened. So once, Mexican American police create this, LASSEN college misconduct, I bought a house in SUSANVILLE and fight toward the LASSEN college and U.S. police, member, and also the system to take care. So 2019, Mexican American police Mexican American police brought Mr. Chang in, okay? Knowing that he's a crime, he controlled the crime. He has a criminal technology to blow out all over the world by exposing my identity and everything. And I'm sure that before they bring Mr. Chang, they already investigated long enough, because they have the network in law enforcement system as being FBI. Like here, hacker continually show up FBI play. They have an FBI member, they have a police member, they have their connection in law enforcement. So I'm sure that before they bring Mr. Chang and they investigated all, Mr. Chang has been convicted and sentenced. And he was professionally, fraudulently, and, snatch the money from other Southern Korea. That's what they were doing. Okay, so in South Korea, they were fighting within their own, okay? Within their own. Mr. Chang, within their own, Mr. Chang and, the CIA, he's a, specialized soldier. They create a organization, and they create the voice phishing and let, Chinese Korean to do, and so on. I think that I've been explained a lot in previous video. So they brought Mr. Chang and let them do the crime in U.S. society. And Mr. Chang, knowing the truth that I have been victimized fraudulently by the Mexican and white police officer, he accepted it, that he's going to take care of my case. That's why last 9 years, whatever things are going on, Mr. Chang was the one who was taking care of my case, because he was assigned to do so, while Mexican American white police system allowed them to play the crime in U.S. society to snatch, snatch the money, from the U.S. citizen. Probably Chinese Korean will target the, Korean American and Mexican or other people, whoever they are, they will snatch other people's money. Yeah. So last 9 years, while they start to play in U.S. society, quite were at the beginning, like 2020, and Chinese Korean build up the organization along with the Korean American, so that let's just start to snatch Korean American money by targeting them. Okay, police is allowing, but that plan has been kind of messed up. Okay, Korean American fell out, and because the town, Los Angeles, Korean American Koreatown was getting bad, and people start to die here and there, because Mexican American police line let Mr. Chang to play very brutally by killing Korean American, and they brought our Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean brought all this technology who was providing by the Indian. They could hack all kinds of system, and they were hacking also U.S. government system. Just like, the day that I went to the pharmacy tech interview job on like January 8, 2025, they shut down the whole 12th floor government building, and then also the Tudor Home Depot. So they were accessing the U.S. government system was doing things. And then at the same time, I think Mr. Chang let Indian to access my Social Security benefit, and then put like a 440 my Social Security benefit amount has been manipulated. 4 means is die. So they purposely put 440, okay, that you are going to die in USA, I think by threatening. So from abroad, they were accessing the U.S. government, system, and then they were manipulating the data. And my FAFSA, my school, FAFSA, those kind of things also has been manipulated. And along with the Social Security benefit, once I bought the SUSANVILLE house. Yeah. And And in 2023, while I live in SUSANVILLE, LASSEN college do not taking care. Okay, they continually lying. Okay, and then they were not giving me a job, even though I applied the pharmacy tech job in SUSANVILLE. So I decided to put house in the market and leave SUSANVILLE town in November 2022. And once I put house in the market, all these phobia things happened. They didn't want me to. Somehow, Mr. Chang and Mexican do not want me to leave because it's a small town. I'm kind of in it, and they don't want me to be out and live my life in you. They don't want me to live my life in USA. I think that's a period. So, and because there is a kind of conflict between Mexican and white side in SUSANVILLE, and white side didn't really do bad thing to me in SUSANVILLE. And also they find out what the Mexican American police organization were doing behind it. So they kind of disappointed, and they didn't want to play. They continue to play, but kind of it went down. And then they kind of got disappointment. I think that's what was going on in SUSANVILLE. And so once I put my house in the market, and Mexican hooked this planner and electrician to get my house to be in the front work of the play. And I left. And then in South Korea, while I was staying in South Korea for 10 months in 2023, and I heard that what you are going through, they lie. Basically, it was a police misconduct. They want to get away, but they spread Chinese Korean. Mr. Chang spread the rumor what I'm going through is a house. No, it wasn't about the house. It was about the getting away. And in 2023, since I play hard, I think Mexican side, they wanted to kill me. Well, hacker was continually, probably the Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean, because they are the one who's hacking majorly, and along with the Indian or Mexican. I think Indian is one, and also the Mexican and Chinese Korean. Those three are, continually hacking, like every single second of my life. And while they excuse the Texas, the China and the Mexican town, they even, gun. But once the Chinese Korean play with the Mexican American, there is a Chinese Korean, church shooting event, and there was a lot of event. Okay. And it was Mexican side letting Chinese Korean to create it while they play together. Okay, they were making these people to become a killer, And I don't know why, because maybe that is what they were playing once, some of the SUSANVILLE, police member, they find out, the situation, they were totally turning around their head from towards, Mexican. Yeah, that's they. Once they start to play starting 2019 and 2020, a lot of things happened. There was a gun shooting event in China church, and a lot because Chinese Korean was playing very vigorously while they play with the Mexican. They pick up the technology how to do it. So I put out as much because I want to resolve I thought that society was what we learned in school. Okay. In 2020, in 2019, I thought the society, because while I was, because I never faced the corruption before, where the corruption create my University of Toledo, but I didn't know that has been created by the corruption, and government corruption. So I never know about the police corruption and government system corruption. So I was, in hoping to, police system and government system to take care of what I was going through. I put everything in the, Facebook, and then because of what they were doing has been exposed, they blame on me, and they blame on me, and they are the one who created by their own. And I noticed that this Mexican American and Chinese Korea and Indian, they create their own. Okay, and then they let blame on me. I'm just I don't have it. They create the event, and they let to blame on me. Like they create Indian airplane event, because they create Korean airplane event, and they create Texas create event. As far as I know, hacker was continually showing, and they blame on me. I did nothing wrong, and last 9 years, everybody was telling me that Mr. Chang and Mr. Chang and Mr. Chang. I know he was a soldier because I saw a picture in his house, okay? He was shaking a head with the U.S. soldier while there's a two flag on the desk. So I know he was, and then Mr. Chang, and Mr. Chang. And then once I find out he was a specialized soldier, and it was all over in South Korea, they create an organization and they play. And I put the information in Facebook because they lie to the world, because they, whatever is doing the crime, they put the Mr. Chang in the front. Okay, so. And then he was playing in some way, okay? Maybe he does his own, but the rumor was all over Mr. Chang. He's doing the brutal criminal crimes in U.S., in U.S. society. So, besides my case, I don't know what he was doing. All I know is, once Chinese, Korean, Mexican start to play, a lot of Korean American has been killed by them. Okay. Other than that, I don't think I know why my Texas event is my excuse. Why all this event they create their own is my excuse. Okay. Mexican brought Mr. Chang. Okay. To take care, because U.S. could already take care, but they already did the wrong, and then Korean American in USA, maybe they didn't want to do, so they brought, in order to get away, and I think by bringing in Korean and letting South Korea to play, they are blocking Koreans. How South Koreans look at the U.S. government, because U.S. government did it, but they were letting South Korea to play. So, the blame, just like Just like in Glendora, California, once I was there, white was against the Mexican American, how they exposing all these like blah 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 in air. But once the white police officer did the misconduct in September 2017, okay, in Glendora Police Department, all white people cooperated. So maybe I think a Mexican American side was thinking that, knowing what they have in play in US as being police officer, if they let Korean people to do directly do then doing all this harassment, abuse, and torture, they will block South Korea. Looking at USA, how see, because they are letting South Korea put in to do the crime together, so they will block, being against toward this U.S. police system. I think that's what our Mexican police were thinking. So they brought Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean, let them to take care of me, and by abusing, harassing, and now even torturing by the laser in Anchorage. Yeah. So their plan changes time to time. So because they plan on getting my house, I mean, they create the phobia, in SUSANVILLE year 2022. Once I put house in the market, I left South Korea. And while I was with 80% of my belonging, okay, and in 2023, if I got a job in South Korea, I will definitely start to live in there, okay. But at the time, Chinese Korean do not want me to be in South Korea, and the Mexican, they were working very closely with the Mexican American. I think these two plan on killing me. That's why Chinese Korean they spread the rumor not for me to have a job in South Korea, and Chinese Korean detective and police, they were looking at me like this, that, like that. And then at the time, quite a truth has been revealed in South Korea, society, that what I went through, due to the U.S. police misconduct. So Chinese Korean do not want me to live in South Korea. They don't want me to come back and leave, because they are the one who was harassing and for the Mexican American police line, while they get the benefit of it. That Chinese Korean community already well known. So like a Chinese Korean police and detective, while they control their community and criminal organization, they do not want me to live in South Korea. So Chinese Korean police and detective continually tell me to go back to USA. So this is the reason. So I returned to come back to USA, got the So they are, in 2023, Mexican and Chinese Korean were already in talk that they plan on killing me. Yeah, to get rid of, so that they could get away eternally what they haven't done. And they were doing quite a lot of business, but and then numerous Korean has been settled. They migrate to USA and was creating a network side by side with the Mexican, just like how the Anchorage is being played. And the Mexican, getting all this technology from Chinese Korea was handing out and working together, with other minority, in behind it, in hidden. So at that time, that's why they sent me back to, USA. Maybe. And I came back to USA October 2023. and got a pharmacy tech job. And Chinese Korean and Korean American who play for targeting the money. This organization led Nanju, the Far Korean pharmacists, to, do the misconduct to let me suspend my job. So she did it. And then I was being suspended, and Walmart said it's going to be investigated, and the Indian pharmacy, Indian manager was what, and then during the time, I was fighting more harder. Yeah, I was fighting more harder. And then they decided to let me go, and they suspended. And then the house, I think, I don't know what they were up to, but if I sell the house, probably the Mexican police line, they want to get it. And I sold the house in SUSANVILLE, and probably the foreigner, one of my friends, foreigner in South Korea, heard there are, I would be killed in USA if I continue to stay. He was telling me to come out to, South Korea. I think that's what already is spreading in South Korea, and where my stories are all over the all over the world. So I moved into here, and I once I sold my SUSANVILLE house, I moved into the Anchorage, and then Anchorage Police Department already exercised their power not for me to buy the house, and my money was not good enough to buy a house, even though they exercised. I don't think people, because in 2025, people already know that who's going after is police. Well, not all, but probably about 50%, more than 50%. So I bought the house cheap. As soon as I start to live in my property, and they start to shoot the laser. And once I sleep, then in the morning I feel headache and my hands get swollen. So I was thinking of all kinds of technology, for entire year. And because the problem was breaking in 2025, the glacial electrician was so hard to going after my house. So they were, and then, the things that I don't have to say because they continually breaking in. Those, white truck, and is the one who was continually ruining my auto, flattening my tire. I think, glacial electrician is the one who was flattening my tire and everything. Because they were breaking in way too harder. I was telling all kinds of story because they were going after the house. So, and I even told, and things that I don't need to say, because people were just saying it on the street. Yeah. And people were just saying that most likely about 7 years ago, Mexico migrated a lot into the Anchorage. It was a time that starting about 7 years ago, quite a lot of Chinese Korean, came from the migrate from South Korea to USA, and then they were making a network throughout the USA along with the Mexican. So 7 years ago, Mexico migrate, Anchorage, and of course, the police system become very bad. And then people were telling this and that, I put it out on my Facebook, and then because of that, and in Anchorage, Russian, this police system led to start to shoot the sound, starting January, I think. Because the issue was they were continually creating with the Mr. Chang and Hells Angel, they were breaking way too much. Okay, I have to move on my way, but this idiot Mr. Chang was while he doesn't sense nothing, he was continually letting Hells Angel to breaking in and continually creating a event one after the other. So they might break in probably about 200 times, because probably 100 times. So, because I put it out, and then so it was like a circling. And then because Anchorage police, because they plan on killing me, whatever Hells Angel was doing, they leave it alone. That Mr. Chang knows. So even just putting out every single post, Hells Angel was revenging it. And then the white majority of police system was just let them play so that she get killed, or being disability, being sick, or whatever while they play. Okay, Mr. Chang and the police street people, Hells Angel, they set it up to play vigorously to do something bad towards me. So Anchorage Police Department was just ignoring it, and they tell not to help me. They were restricting to do anything from the top. And how this thing happened? California, two police officers know what they have in play along with the University of Toledo and Toledo police officer and the doctor. They know what they haven't done to me. Okay, even feeding the medication and ruining the physical, and just let me become a disabled person. And live with the disability benefit in USA. I think that's what police were doing quite a lot in USA, which they shouldn't do. So doing those kind of misconduct as being by using the police power, they knew what they haven't done, and they create, based on the University of Toledo, and they create another event of LASSEN College, okay? And then LASSEN College is their cartel line. So those, along with the California, side, also the LASSEN College contact. Once, in California, they didn't, on white side people do not want to kill me. That's why they did not do anything like shooting the laser. They shoot the laser to stop my event, just like returning to the LASSEN College. And who has a laser is a Mexican, not the white. Okay, who let Mr. Chang and Chinese created along with the Indian in abroad is Mexican, so they have it. So once I tried to go back to LASSEN College in year 2021, they shoot the laser to mess up my organ. About 2 to 3 months, I could not digest. Okay, and this laser, and just like a private investigator told, they this laser, they messed up the organ. Yes, that's what they were doing it. And while I start to work in SUSANVILLE Walmart Pharmacy, they shoot the leg, very painful during night. So somehow I start to get pain on my right leg. So it was a laser shooting that I didn't know, because I didn't know that I was being shoot the laser until February 2026. I went to the South Korea since they start to shoot the laser sound to my Anchorage house, and I happened to find out the laser has been created, okay, in South Korea too. So people was talking about it. So I happened to aware what they have been shooting during night was a laser. So that's why when I wake up, I was getting headache, and my hands was getting swollen. And then also the sound is a laser. So they let in California LASSEN and to white, because all has been done by the white, while I did nothing wrong. So So Anchorage Police Department tried to kill me. That's why they were blocked, they let Mr. Chang and Hells Angel to play whatever they could do. And doing what Mr. Chang and Chinese were doing, favor for police member, in USA, they were getting a benefit to snatch people's money through the crime. And white side in government system were cooperating for their line what they have been done to get away, and along with their street member. That's why they put the and glacier electrician and also the white truck and do the work, cover the work, cover the front work, as being white person. Yeah. So I don't know how I am planning on leaving the USA because they set it up. And who's shooting the laser is Mr. Chang and Chinese Korean, and maybe some white, and there was also Indian, there is also Mohammed, but majorly I think Mr. Chang is the one who's shooting it, and also the Chinese Korean. They were doing the favor. Well, because my health is not very good. And at this point, maybe Mr. Chang, I don't know, Mr. Chang is psycho. He's definitely a psycho. And that's why he's playing. While they cure Korean American, that's how they created Itaewon and also the, Cambodia. While they work with the Korean American, work with the Mexican American, while Mexican American flip USA and Chinese Korean wants to flip China, flip South Korean and take over. That's why they created. While they work with the certain soldier like Mr. Chang's organization. Yeah, and the crime has been expanded rather than taken care. Rather than taken care. So, once I returned from South Korea in October 2023, across the higher position people in Susanville tried to take care of my school with the LASSEN, try to take care of the issue that I was having with the LASSEN College, and the LASSEN College say it's been sealed. Or still like nothing ever happened. I think like a GLENDORA police, like mental hospital or University of Toledo. I think they share the information just like LASSEN College because it was they know that it was misconduct. So most likely by sealing, and they get away what they have been done like nothing happened. And I've never been there, and I think they took care the issue like that. And in USA, I don't know how, because, once Mexican American brought Mr. Chang was playing globally. Like through SNS, they use a foreigner in South Korea and Chinese Korean, they play globally. Because, so once Mexican American brought Mr. Chang and let him play, my issue with the U.S. police member has been globalized. And now I happen to find out whole world knows, whole community in Anchorage knows, in also the USA. Because it was just such a, not many country, even though it's a third country, not many country take care the issue like how and what U.S. police members are taking care of my case. Yeah, so it would be up to their choice whether they take care, not take care, just get away. It would be their choice.